So in week 7, we covered particles. We're going to start with particle playground first. That's the easiest. So I just made a new composition, 1920 by 1080, 24 frames, 7 seconds long. I'm going to add a layer new solid, make it comp size. Click OK. So now it's covering the whole composition, and I double click on particle playground. You hit the space bar, and there's the particles. So as we covered in class, the cannon, the position is where it's shooting out of. So I moved it down if I want to go out down. I'm also going to be making a video tutorial on how to link a null to that so that it will follow around the scene. And I'm also making a tutorial on using video as particles. We didn't cover that in class because the lab computers are a little bit slow. So I'm showing it to you here. You already know the concept. It's making a textured faded disk or just a textured disk and putting the video in there. Obviously, it needs to be keyed out. Barrel radius is how wide the particles are shooting out of. So a larger number, they'll spread out wide like if it was exploding out of a volcano, and a smaller number will give you a tighter stream of particles. Particles per second, how many particles are coming out. So if I do 12,000, there's much more than if there were 60. You can keyframe all of these over time to make it do what you want. As I demonstrated in class with direction, the direction is where they're spreading out of. So I'm going to go from there. I already clicked the stopwatch. I moved forward in time. And we'll do that. I'll give it some more particles so we can see what's going on. I'll do 1,000. Now I will make the radius 1. And it's making a squiggly because that's what I did with the rotation. You can see it easier now that I've got more particles. I'm just going to move up the producer. They call it a cannon in this effect. There's the cannon. Direction random spread. If I make this 100, you see it's more randomly shooting out than if I did 0. It'll give a much tighter, more mathematical look. It's all up to you as a designer. You can, like I said, you can keyframe animate any of these you like. Velocity, this is what 130 looks like. I'm going to change it to 0. See, now it's a tight stream. Let me make this 100% C. So you're getting a completely different animation based off that. You're still getting, it's still twirling around, but now it's more like a string or a strand because there's less spreading around. Whereas if I made this 100, it's much looser. Velocity random spread. I increase that. Obviously, it's going to randomly affect the particles. I'm going to make that 0. See, now you've got the nice, tight mathematical look if that's what you're going for. Randomness always adds a more natural element. And you can always hit undo if you don't like what happened. Particle radius is how wide the particles are, or I should say how round. A 1 is the smallest you can go and still be able to see them. Obviously, if I went to 10, they're much blotchier and bigger looking. That's all up to you as the designer in Particle Playground. I'm going to skip grid. Layer exploder. So I'm going to hide this first layer. And I'm going to make new text. I'll put my name, Mike Wazowski. Put it right here. Here we go. Alright, now I'm going to make a new solid. I'll call this layer of particles. And I know I spelled it wrong, but that's okay. This isn't spelling class. I'm going to go to my effects. I'm going to add Particle Playground back to it. There's everything going on right there. We're going to be looking at layer map. Let's try Mike. I'm going to hide my name. You can make any layer you want for this. Now see, it's all coming out of the layer. You change the settings to get a different look. Grid, so we'll do, oh wait, that's the layer map. I don't want to do layer map. I wanted to show you layer exploder. Sorry about that. I just undid, no harm, no foul. I just chose the text for my name again. I hid it down here just so you can see the particles more easily. I'm going to knock this down to quarter resolution for preview. Okay, now you got a better idea of what's going on here. Velocity dispersion, size of particles, we already covered what's going on with that particle explorer. We're going to skip that. Layer map, we're going to skip this. Now gravity. Gravity is pulling these particles down. I'm going to change this to 0. Okay. So, what did I change here? Oh yeah, the gravity. So the gravity is no longer pulling the particles down. You can see them sticking together. As I discussed in class, you could use text or any layer you want for particles, as I just showed you, using Layer Exploder and animating the keyframes. So if you want them to make a big explosion outward, you'd be adjusting your velocity over time. Or if you want them to come inward, you'd start off on a high velocity, go down in time, and get rid of the velocity so that they're coming inward, almost as if they're forming the letter or a logo. The possibilities are endless. It's up to you as the designer to look at them and figure out what you want to do over time. Like I said, you could increase the particles over time, decrease them. It's all up to you. You could change the size of them. Different settings over time will change the look of your animations dramatically. And as I said before, the golden rule of thumb with particles is always get them to move the way you want, then worry about how they look. So you could always start working at a lower resolution preview to get your animation going faster and smoother over time. And don't forget, Particle Playground and Particle System 2 are 2D only. They will not have 3D Z depth. That's Particle World is the only one we'll be going over that later on in another tutorial.